Let's jump right in, guys, because honestly, for the last couple of years, you've probably been working a full-time job that you didn't even know you had. Seriously, every single time you've used AI, you've been working this invisible, unpaid shift. Well, today, we're going to fix that. Welcome to this explainer on loop engineering. This is a brand new paradigm, and it takes absolutely everything we know about using AI and flips it entirely on its head. Get ready to stop just talking to AI and start actually deploying it. So think about your normal workflow with something like ChatGPT or Claude, right? You open the window, you type a prompt, and you wait. The answer comes back, you read it over, you check if it's any good, you fix the parts that are kind of messed up, and then you type again. You just repeat this dance over and over. Notice something there? You are the one deciding what to ask next. You are checking the quality. You are remembering what happened last time. You are literally the bottleneck here. You weren't just using AI. You were operating the heavy machinery yourself. You were the loop. And that brings us to our main point. The next massive AI skill isn't writing better prompts, it's loop engineering. So what is a loop? Basically, it's a system where the AI keeps an eye on a situation for you. It actually takes the next step completely on its own. It remembers what it's already done, and it only stops when the job is totally finished, or, when it genuinely hits a wall and really needs your human input. So instead of writing a single static prompt, you're building an intelligent, continuous system, one that watches the world on your behalf.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. Isn't this just automation? Like, is this basically Zapier with a fancy new name? It's a completely fair question, but the answer is a resounding no. In fact, the difference between standard automation and a loop is the whole point of this explainer.
Let me break it down. Automation is a lot like a light switch. It usually performs one fixed action. Say, when a form is submitted, send a welcome email. Boom! It fires once and its job is done. A loop, on the other hand, that's more like a patient, observant guard dog. It sits there, watching the situation unfold. It actually asks itself, hey, did anything change? Have I already handled this? Is the job actually complete, or should I try again? Or wait, should I wake up my human? One is just a simple switch, while the other watches relentlessly until a situation is actually resolved. Okay, so how do we actually program this guard dog? Good news, you don't need to know a single line of code. A brilliant loop is honestly just built on patience, memory, and answering 5 really simple questions up front. First, what exactly should the AI watch? Second, how often should it check in? Third, what specific change is it hunting for? Fourth, what should it do the absolute exact moment that change happens? And finally, and this is a big one, when should it stop and come ask you for permission? You master these 5 rules, you master loop engineering. All right, let's see how this builds by looking at some real-world examples. Moving into level 1, the product watcher. We have all been there, right? Frantically refreshing a page for a sold-out sneaker, or maybe a new iPhone or concert tickets. Well, let's hand that entire headache over to a loop. Here are the rules for our sneaker watcher loop. We just tell the AI, watch this specific shoe's product page every single hour. Check if my size, let's say UK11, is there. Check if the price is right, and check if the button still says out of stock. And here is where it gets absolutely amazing. You can set this to run on cloud servers, meaning you can literally shut your laptop, go to sleep, and the AI just keeps quietly monitoring that live product page in the background, doing exactly what you asked. But as you can imagine, a loop is only as good as its constraints, so we have to add 2 vital rules. Never repeat an alert, and absolutely never buy it automatically. If the shoe is still sold out, the AI does nothing. It stays silent. If it's the wrong size, does nothing. But, and this is key, it saves what it saw in its memory so it doesn't spam you with the same alert twice. And most importantly, it just alerts you. It leaves the final, risky decision of actually spending your hard-earned money entirely up to you.
Okay, let's level things up a bit.
Welcome to level 2, the job watcher. Imagine there's this role you would absolutely kill for at a top AI lab, like OpenAI or Anthropic. But let's be real, you don't have time to check their career pages every single day. And you definitely don't want to find out about your dream job 2 weeks too late. So we tell the job hunter loop to scan these companies 3 times a day. But we get highly specific here. We filter for growth or community roles. We tell it to strictly ignore engineering roles, flag only roles in our city, and then, if it finds a match, draft a short application note. When you run this, the AI doesn't just check the companies one by one like a human would. It fires off 10 different agents simultaneously to scan the live web boards. It even flags its own judgment calls if it had to bend your rules just a tiny bit. And this brings us right back to the real magic of loops, which is memory. The AI has to remember what it's already shown you. Without memory, it would just ping you about that exact same OpenAI job every single day, and you'd probably mute the system within an hour. Instead, on every single run, it executes this superhuman-like logic. It asks itself, is this new? Does it actually match the criteria? Have I shown this person already? Is it even worth interrupting them for? It filters out all that noise and only bothers you when it truly matters.
Ready for an even crazier level of complexity? Let's jump to level 3, the opportunity hunter. So, those first loops we talked about, they watched one product or maybe a few job pages. This loop watches the entire internet for you. If you run a business, you can deploy agents that constantly scour Reddit, X, funding news, and the tech press. Most people just sit back and wait for demand to find them via contact forms or DMs. But what if your AI could proactively spot people basically raising their hands with a problem that you can solve? You just tell the loop what you offer, and it deploys across multiple platforms simultaneously. It's out there looking for people posting things like, our support team is overloaded, or hey, anyone know a good consultant? And when it comes back, it hands you some incredible output. It ranks the signals from strongest to weakest, and it even goes ahead and drafts a highly personal outreach pitch for you to review. But crucially, and I love this, it builds immense trust by honestly telling you when a data source hit a wall or got blocked. It doesn't hallucinate, it doesn't pretend it had a perfect run. It actually admits where it struggled, and that honesty, that is exactly what separates a fun little toy from a serious, reliable tool you can actually run a business on. Which brings us to our final, most jaw-dropping example in this explainer. Level 4, the autonomous builder. Up to this point, all our loops have simply watched things out in the world, right? Well, this one creates. Imagine you have this rough placeholder app. We'll call it the Lumen app. And you want to redesign it to look like a beautiful website you admire. Normally, you'd hire a designer and do this whole back and forth dance for days. Not anymore. And the best part? You don't even have to light this loop from scratch. You can just head over to online loop libraries where people share ready-made templates. You copy a website redesign loop, point it at your rough app, point at your inspiration, and literally just hit go. Once you hit go, this becomes a fully autonomous cycle. The AI builds a version of the code. Then, and this is the absolutely crazy part, it checks its own work. It finds the weakest part of the design, fixes just that piece, and goes again on a timer. Build, check, fix, repeat. It is actively grading itself and improving itself over and over while you sit back and do absolutely nothing. It transforms a rough sketch into a fully polished product with floating mockups and clean pricing tiers, all because you set the standard and just let the loop climb to it. Now, before we go out and automate literally everything in our lives, we really need to talk about boundaries. Let's look at the golden rule of loops. Look, if you answer those initial setup questions lazily, you haven't built a smart assistant, you've just built yourself a massive headache. The more powerful the loop, the stronger your rules absolutely need to be. Let the AI watch product pages, let it filter job boards, draft outreach emails, and remind you of things all day long. That is totally safe. But you must gate anything that touches your money, your reputation, your customers, or your legal standing. A loop can draft an application for sure, but it should never actually apply for you. It can draft an outreach pitch, but it should absolutely never message a stranger without your final say-so. The AI handles the tedious watching, the human makes the final call. Setting that one strict boundary is the difference between a loop that works flawlessly for you and a loop that could massively embarrass you. Prompt engineering taught us how to talk to AI, but loop engineering, that teaches us how to hand off the work entirely. Mark my words, a year from now, the people who understand this early will have absolute armies of AI guard dogs quietly working in the background for them, while everyone else is still sitting there refreshing web pages by hand. So the only question left to ask yourself is, are you ready to stop talking to AI and start deploying it?